Live from Johannesburg, this is Fridays with Tim Modise. The Zondo Commission into state capture continues. Various politicians are implicated. And President Ramaphosa says he will deal with it after it has ended. Meanwhile, former Busan's COO Angelo Agrizzi made explosive accusations this week. As the country continues to be divided over land and responsibilities to keep it usable, we ask if men who fail to pay child maintenance should be removed from the beneficiary list of those who may be given land in time. And finally, he's one of South Africa's fashion icons, an advocate for young artists, and most recently the curator of Cotton Fest. We'll be talking to multi-talented artist Ricky Rick to find out what is next for him. And you can join us on the show. The number to call 011-759-6340 to give us your views. You can also share your thoughts with us on Twitter. And the hashtag is Fridays with Tim Modise. And this is what the President Ramaphosa said when asked about his views on those implicated in the state capture in an interview with ENCA's Annika Lassen.
So let's not deal with the matter on a piecemeal basis. Let us deal with the full picture as it will have unfolded.
After a series of bombshells from Angelo Agrizzi's testimony at the state capture inquiry implicating several senior politicians and public officials, what can President Ramaphosa do, and when should he be taking action to reassure the nation that he's dealing with the rot? I'm joined by political analyst Professor Sipho Seepe to discuss this matter further. And Professor Seepe, pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
And many people have been saying, and the public generally feels, that he has been taking the right steps by instituting the Zondo Commission, for instance, the Nugent Commission to investigate at SARS, the Mokoro inquiry,
yes,
and other inquiries, the PIC inquiry included. And on the basis of that and removing a few people, it gives a sense that the president seems to be onto something. But what Agrizzi told Judge Raymond Zondo over the past 6-7 days or so now has made certain matters very, very urgent. When do you think the president should be responding to this?
Well, there is the response by the president, there's a response by the ANC, and there's also a response that we expect from the Constitution. First of all, the president had actually said, let's wait until we have a full picture, because if he starts responding on each and every allegation that is made, the president will always have to take a position and come to explain himself. So when you have a commission of inquiry, you wait until there are recommendations. But when you also say that as a president, you must also make sure that there's issue of consistency. Remember, not so long ago, we had the VBS, and some of the people in the VBS were implicated. And we also had the ANC Integrity Commission almost making some suggestion that the people must step aside. And we've seen people stepping aside. Now people are saying, if you're going to be consistent, and you hear what you guys call bombshells, but I hear that bombshells are serious allegations.
But they are bombshells, not because they say so.
No. Let's take it that what you have are allegations that have been made, and that these allegations are very serious.
Yes.
Until they are proven to be correct. Remember, we are in a constitutional democracy, where the other side must also be heard. Remember, there was a time when Ufegi Mento appeared before the media and before the Zondo Commission, and she was also delivering bombshells, only for her to retract some of the statements. So I think what we should do, we should be patient with the temper, our need for justice and for bloodshed, with the constitutional principle that says there's a need to hear the other side. So what the president is actually doing, he's actually pulling back from the knee-jerk response in full awareness that the other side has not been heard. And you saw people making denials after that. So the question is that if an allegation is made and somebody denies it, how do you tell that it is a bombshell? How do you tell that it's true until the facts are before you? I keep on giving people an example of where the NPA goes out of its way, has a young man put in leg irons and say, we've got a strong case. Then they say, no, we provisionally drop because they discover that the facts are not
what you're saying. But there's a good example of this with the case that was investigated by the SIU, who made recommendations almost 10 years ago that this was a case to be prosecuted by the NPA.
Yeah.
And the NPA sat on it, did not do anything. And it emerges that some officials, we know it's allegations at this time, but were actually on the payroll of Busan that, Agrizzi is telling us about their activities, right, before the Zondo Commission. So you ask yourself, if you are president, what do you do with that kind of information? Here is a case, SIU investigated, made recommendations 9-10 years ago. The NPA know about this matter, never revealed it, and we've got to hear from a civilian that there's such a case, and after that matter, then we got to hear that people who are supposed to do the job did not do the job because they are paid by the very same company.
Yeah, the beautiful thing about commissions, especially when they're held publicly, is that they expose their rot. And in exposing the rot, they actually put pressure. But when you start putting pressure on the president to say, what are you going to do about it? The president is very clear that the institutions of democracy and of law enforcement must work, but they must also be independent. So with this pressure coming, there'll be issues of accountability. That's why you have parliament. That's why you have portfolio committees, to make sure that the public begins to say, respond to these issues. But for the president to move in, the point I was making earlier, that if you're going to have bombshells every week, then you'll have to have a president respond to each and every bombshell. But he understands that if you're going to understand how the legal process works, is that there is something like audio alternate battering rule, that the other side must be heard and there must be evidence. Simply because somebody has made serious allegations. Actually, there were serious allegations that were made against Mbeki for 16 years. And when the time came for people to produce evidence, there was no evidence. So we have a history where people simply make allegations against people. We're not saying they should not be taken seriously, but we say when we do that, let the due process.
I understand. It was very understandable. And the elections are coming up, right, in 5 months' time, okay? Yeah. And who knows, if the country limps along on these allegations and there's no action taken, that is a serious political risk on the part of the president and his party, the African National Congress, isn't it?
Oh, it is a very serious risk.
The second part is that, and with the allegations over the NPA specifically, who would trust the NPA on the basis of what we've heard?
Well, like you said, we are having a number of commissions, and part of a reason why we have those commissions is about cleaning our process to make sure that things are more transparent. But most importantly, the point that you're raising about the risk, political risk, is that the ANC says it distances itself from the actions of individuals. But it is the same ANC that has benefited. I mean, if one of the things that Agrizzi was saying is that they were sponsoring Sia rallies, and it was the ANC. So if you're going to say that is corruption, the ANC cannot distance itself because it will be a beneficiary to the proceeds of crime. Because if the money was not supposed to have gone to certain people, it should not have gone to the ANC. And remember, in the past, the ANC was saying people should have known. So the question that people will be raising for the ANC, why did you not ask where the money comes from? But I need to caution even this hasty posture that I take to say business people and politicians like to dine with each other. They like to influence each other. Until this is why the issue of political funding becomes very important, because what it does, it makes transparency possible. And
a quick question and a brief response from you. Hlaudi Motsoeneng has started his own party, the African Content Movement. And then Mzwane Lemanyi has also joined another party, the African Transformation Movement. What do you make of these developments? I mean, there are people who are very, very active in ANC politics.
Yeah, what you find in all these parties, actually starting way back from 1994, is that the people who used to be former members of the ANC are beginning to see the ANC no longer as a solution to the country's challenges. And people like Mzwane, they have their own views about the ANC, where it is going. They have actually put it that when you look at the resolutions of Nasrec. There's less talk about that. There's more talk about other things. So he feels that there's a betrayal. Claudi Mtswane thinks that he has his own constituency as he talks about African content movement, to say when you look at the debate taking place in this country, they are bereft of African content. So he might actually end up having supporters. Remember all these little parties that have been formed, some of them end up having representation in parliament. And I do think that for me it's a flourishing of democracy. And the ANC can say, when it says we are engaged in a struggle for multi-party democracy, even though it continues to lose members, it continues to create a multi-party democracy.
Professor Sipho Sepa, thank you very much for having been our guest this evening. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay, in a moment we'll be taking a look at the ways within which tender rigging has crippled emerging businesses.